So everyone, welcome back to the course Fusion 360 design. So in the previous session, we have seen the collaborative tool, collaborative environment, how to save the file, all that. So in this lesson, we are going to start with the actual modeling. So before we talk about the 3D modeling, it is very important to understand the sketching part. So Fusion 360 is a parametric software. So parametric means either you can specify the dimensional inputs as a formula or you can specify it later. So that will help you in future whenever you are supposed to edit. So it will become very easy. For example, just to give a very simple example. For example, I'm designing a laptop of 13-inch size. My next project is the same laptop, same kind of thing, everything is same, but it should be 15-inch. So rather than designing everything new, if I change that 13-inch size, the screen size to 15-inch, so everything should automatically get updated. So something like that, we call it as parametric design. So how it works and what are the things we have to consider when it comes to parametric design. So what should be the minimum requirement while sketching? So those things we are going to cover today. So, so in this main screen, before we start creating any model, first thing we have to create a sketch. So to create sketch, so on the top inside the create, you can notice the first icon that is create sketch. So software will take you to the different environment, the screen where you will get access to all the sketching tools. So once you select sketch, so it is asking you to select the plane on which plane you are going to create the sketch, whether it is XY, YZ or XZ. So those plane information on the left side in the browser, if you expand this origin folder, here you can notice XY, XZ and YZ. These are the three default planes on the screen. You can select any of this plane to start creating your sketch. So this is quite very important of the selection of this plane. Why? So it really doesn't matter when it comes to assembly or something, but it matters when it comes to designing in the future component respective to the origins. So now in this particular case, you can select any of this. For example, I'm selecting this bottom plane here, that is XZ plane, to create a sketch. Once if I click on the plane, you can notice software will rotate the screen parallel to the sketching plane. Okay, this is what the plane you have selected to create sketch. Software will automatically rotate the screen parallel to the sketching plane so that easily we can create the sketch. Once you go to this sketching plane, here you can notice there are a couple of things. One is this user interface, this toolbar has been updated. On the right side, you can see the panel where you have option to create the constraints and to finish the sketch. Now, what exactly I want to create here? So I have created a simple drawing here, which I'm supposed to execute now. So you can notice, sorry, not this one. I want to create this one. Okay. So this particular sketch I want to create on my Fusion 360 screen with a given dimension. Okay, this is a simple head section and most of the dimensions are all repeated dimensions. How we are going to create that? So let me just go through a simple steps here. So that now I'm going to split my screen so that you can view both. Sorry. So here you go. So this is the 2D sketch which I want to execute on my Fusion 360. So as this is a parametric software, you have both the option. You can start giving input to your dimension, or you can create the shape, then you can give the dimensional input. Both the options are available. So here in this, I'm going to select line command first. I'm going to start line somewhere here. You can notice while creating the line, for example, if I'm moving the mouse, you can notice here, software is giving the length and angle. I can key the input. For example, this length supposed to be 10 millimeter and the angle is 90-degree. So I can specify that. So 10. Once I press the tab, it will ask me for the angle. Angle is 90, just enter. This is one way of creating the sketch. Or the second, I'm just going to create all the lines here. So it should just look alike my 2D sketch. You can notice there. So I'm just creating the lines here. Okay. So approximate almost, it looks alike, but I have not given any dimensional input and also it is not exactly the same. So now I can start creating the dimensions. So that is, to create dimension inside the create, here you can see the sketch dimension. So I can start creating the dimension, but before that, whether this object geometrically constrained or not, that is more important. What is geometrical constraints? If you notice here, these are these symbols which shows represent like a T. This is nothing but perpendicular symbol. So all these lines, whatever I have created, it's all perpendicular to each other. If I try to move any line, can you see here? If I try to move this line is moving left and right, but it is not rotating. It is not turning the angle because these two lines are perpendicular and these two lines are perpendicular. It won't change that particular scenario, but I can move this line left or right. I can move this because there is no dimension. If I say this dimension is 10, then software will not allow me to move these lines. At the same time, so you can notice this line as this line supposed to be horizontal. You can notice in this 2D sketch, but right now these two lines are not horizontal and even these two lines are not horizontal. In such scenarios, we have lot of geometrical constraints available. You can notice here, these are the geometrical constraints. So horizontal or vertical, coincident constraint, so joining two endpoints, tangent, equal, two lines or two circle or two arc, anything if you want to make it equal. Parallel, two lines you can make it parallel. Perpendicular, already here by the time of creating sketch, software has taken some automatic constraint. So if you want to manually add, you have manual perpendicular constraint available. Fix, the object which you really don't want to move, you want to fix it to some point or some location. And then here you have midpoint. If you want to fix something exactly at the center to this line or any arc or something. Concentric, so two circle center, you can make it same. Collinear, so two lines, so which will be constrained parallelly and also in the same line. And last but not least, symmetry. So you can use this constraint, geometrical constraint, to ensure the drawing, whatever you have created, it is as per the requirement. Now, for example, I select this collinear constraint. This line and this line should be collinear. Now you can notice these two are in the same parallel plane. And I select these two collinear. Same thing, I can select these two are collinear, right? So once after selecting that, if I try to add additional constraints further, now, for example, I select equal. This line and this line should be equal, same size. Okay. And I say this line and this line should be equal. Clear? So all these things are constrained. Now the next step, after giving this constraint, I simply go to the dimension, sketch dimension. So this is already 10. I want to give dimension to these two endpoint. Okay, this is already given here, 80. Can you see now? After giving dimension, so this line and this line, these two are not collinear. So I can go to collinear constraint again, geometry constraint. So this and this line should be collinear. Now can you notice this also changed? That is because in the previous constraint, we have given this line and this line equal. Can you notice here? These two lines are equal. So again, I give collinear between this line and this line. Okay. Now the next step, equal constraint. I give, so here you can notice this is 10 and this width length is also 10. So I select this line and this line should be equal. You can notice, so this line and this line is equal. At the same time, even this also got updated because already we have given this and this are equal. So if I try to give equal constraint between these two, is it required? Now, for example, I give equal constraint between this line and this line. So software will not accept. Can you see here the error? Sketch geometry is over constrained. That is because these two lines already I have given equal and these two lines I have given equal. And there is no point I have to give equal constraint between this and this line. Clear? So now, if I try to create dimension also, I try to create dimension for this one. You can notice for that also software will give an error. I'm going to over constrain again because dimension 10 already I have given. Why I have to give dimension again here when these two are already equal constrained? So that means that geometrical constraint and dimensional constraint, we cannot over constrain, or we don't have to give it either both. So either we can give geometry or I can give the dimensional constraint depending on the requirement. So now I cannot give dimension to this, but still if I select OK, you can notice the same dimension, it is representing inside the bracket. That means it is a reference dimension. Okay. So now I'm giving dimension between these two. You can notice this is 10. So this should be 10, right? So here I can type the value or I can just select any of this dimension, the same value, the dimension name, I can input here. I can select OK. But that we can do it in the next lesson. So now I'm just going to give 10. So this height is 10 and next this should be 20. I'm going to give this dimension as 20, 20. Now we can notice this also got updated because these two lines are equal. So I don't have to give dimension between these two now. If I give, obviously, software will give the error message as over constrained, right? And the next one. So this height between these two, this is supposed to be 20 again. Okay. And this overall height. So this is given 50. So I'm creating dimension between these two. So this one I give it as 50, 50. Okay. So all the dimensions I have given here. So nothing is left. If I try to create this dimension, obviously it will be a reference dimension because this is 10, this is 10, this is 20 and 20 is given. Overall dimension is given 80. So I don't have to give a dimension for this two. So this is going to over constrain, right? But still if I select OK, it will show 30 here. Or if I try to give dimension between these two, again over constraint, this is 20, you can notice here. So that reference dimension we don't have to create, we can just delete that. But now if I try to move any line, can you notice the entire object is moving up and down, left or right in all the direction, but it is not changing the size or it is not changing the shape. It is not changing the size because we have given dimensional constraint. It is not changing the shape because we have given the geometrical constraint to all the lines. But now Still, this is not constrained completely. If the object is moving left, right, or any direction, means the object is not constrained. That is not the proper way to start with any 3D modeling software, any 3D model what you create. You have to ensure that sketch is completely constrained. When you completely constrain the sketch, automatically all the lines what you see here in blue color will turn to black. Okay. So why it is not constrained? We have given geometry constraint, dimension, everything, but still it is not constrained just because this sketch doesn't have any relationship with the axis center. So it's something like I'm just keeping my mouse on the table. It can move anywhere on the table, but I want to fix it somewhere. If I'm going to fix, I have to give the dimension from the corner of the table to the mouse center or something like that. But here, I have this axis center. So what I can do, I can simply bring any of this point to this center. That means here you can see the coincident constraint. This edge or this end point should be constrained to this axis center. I'm selecting these 2 points. Now you can see the entire head shape, it has moved to this center. Now you can notice all these lines are turned to black. That means this object is completely constrained. For example, if I delete this dimension 50, can you notice here? These two horizontal line turned to blue and also this one. Now I can move this line up and down, right? Because there is no constraint here. There is no dimension here. So this is not completely constrained. If I create dimension between these 2 point, vertical dimension, if I make it 50, now this is completely constrained. Okay. So this is how we have to create the sketch. Either you can start with the dimension or you can start with the shape. You can create the shape, then you can give the geometrical constraint wherever and whenever it is applicable. And you can provide the dimension to ensure the size. So make sure all these lines or object, whatever you have created, is in black color so that this is completely constrained. Once after creating all that, now on the top here, you can see the finished sketch. Once you select finish sketch, now software will go back to the 3D environment. So here I can add the thickness. Here I can add thickness or I can add the 3D modeling tools like sweep, loft, or even the revolve, any command to turn this 2D sketch into a 3D model. Okay. So once after creating these things, now the next step, what we are going to do is, so the same thing, whether it is possible with the parametric functionality or not. So that we have to ensure here. Okay. So that we have to ensure. So for example, like I'm just selecting extrude command. Extrude means it will add thickness to the 2D sketch. I'm selecting this whole thing, then the thickness I can drag here. Okay. So the thickness, this one, I'm going to give it as like a 10 millimeter distance. I can give 10. Okay. Now, so we have created a simple 2D sketch and we have constrained the whole thing. After that, so we came back to the 3D environment where we have given thickness using the extrude command. So now, at any point of time, I want to go back and edit the dimensions or the sketch. Here in the browser, as in the previous lesson I have mentioned, whatever we create, everything will be stored in the browser. I can go back to my sketch folder here. You can see the sketch. Whenever you create sketch, all the sketches will be stored inside the same folder. Sketch 1, double click, it will go back to the same sketch. If I want to edit, for example, this 80, I will change it to 100, enter. Okay, now if I select finish sketch, automatically you can notice that has been updated. This is the advantage of using a parametric software. Any point of time you can go back, You can edit the dimension, and the same thing will be automatically updated on your 3D model. If this 3D you are going to use in your assembly or sub-assembly or in your drawing, so everywhere the same thing will automatically get updated. Okay, that is the best part with parametric software, that's Fusion 360 software. So now this is one exercise, very simple. And the next one which I want to highlight, you can notice here I have one more drawing. In this particular drawing, okay, in this particular drawing, so I don't have exact dimension, but I have the dimensional formulas. Like for example, if this is base, and this thickness should be base divided by 10, and this should be base divided by 5, right? And this overall height should be base divided by 2. When I give this kind of input, what will happen? When I give this kind of inputs, if I change the base value, automatically the remaining everything will automatically get updated. Then your 3D will get updated, then your assembly will get updated. Everything will automatically update. How it works again? So let me start with the new file. The same sketch, same thing I'm supposed to create. Sketch, I'm selecting this bottom plane, and here I'm going to start with this axis center only. Okay. I just try to make it very simple. So I can just go to this point, and if I move, automatically it will track that point so that I can maintain that particular height. So, okay. So now, so same thing, I go to collinear. So these two lines should be collinear, and these two line, and of course these two line, okay, and these two, and these two, okay. Now equal constraint, this line and this should be equal, this line and this should be equal, okay. Should I give this line and this line? Software will not accept because this we have already given collinear, this two line and this two line. You can notice if I select this, it shows error. So I'm going to over constrain, right? Now I'm supposed to give the dimension. So by the time of giving dimension, I just write the formulas first. This is simple sketch, right? So going back to this solid model, on the top you can see the tab, solid. Here inside the modify, I have an option available, change parameters. Inside modify, change parameter. So by default, there is no parameters here. You can notice here, because this is the first sketch on this screen. So no parameter. If I go to the previous exercise, the same thing, if I go to modify parameter, it shows all this information. Can you see? Sketch 1, what all the parameters we have given, everything will be here. But in this new file, we have not given any parameters. So when I go to change parameter, so right now I do not have any sketch or anything, but user parameter, I can start creating my own. Clicking on this user parameter, the parameter name, I give it as base. Okay. So the value, I give it as 80. Comment, I don't have to give any, so I just select OK. One more parameter, I give this parameter name as TH, that is thickness. Thickness should be base divided by, so what is given here, the base divided by, so this is 10. Okay. And one more parameter, height, HT, this should be base divided by 2. Right. And last but not least, this particular length here. So this one, I give user parameter as T, or W cannot because this is a short key, WT, okay. And this is, I will give it as base divided by 5. So I've given 4 parameters. Only for one parameter base I have given the value. So remaining all, I have given the formula proportionate to this base length. Going back to the sketch. Going back to the sketch, I start creating dimension between these two. I don't have to write the value, I just give it as base. Okay, so this is 80. And you can notice this shape has been changed, right? That is because of, the constraints what we have already given. So I'm just changing this particular thing, and I just ensure the shape. Okay, I just ensure this shape. So it should look like this hedge section. So the next step, the dimension, this should be thickness, TH, right? And automatically you can see this, all this thickness has been updated because I have already given this all equal constraint. And the height. So this height supposed to be HT. Already I have given the parameter. You can see HT user parameter is already there. I just give enter. And this shape, I just ensure it comes below here. Okay. And then the dimension for this one, this is supposed to be WT. Okay. Then after that, this is not equal constraint. So I select equal constraint, this line and this line. And last but not least, I have to give dimension for this. Dimension, this one, this is supposed to be same, TH, thickness. And now this height. Can you see only these two are in blue color? This height, this is supposed to be exactly at the center. So I want to give the formula for this. So dimension between these two, this is supposed to be inside the bracket, total height divided by 2 minus another bracket, this thickness. So this thickness divided by 2. Am I right? So this length is nothing but total height divided by 2, that is the center. So it has to go down. So total thickness divided minus total thickness divided by 2. So once I enter, so I can give formula like anything I can add to this formula. So after adding to this formula, so now when I go to stop sketch, the same procedure, I have to stop the sketch here. Okay. So now after creating all this, the next step, I just finished this sketch. I can go to extrude this whole thing. I can extrude this to like distance 20, right? Now the best part, any point I have to change this, any point of time, I can just go back to this sketch. Okay. This base value I can change. So everything will get updated. Or I can even go to the modify change parameter. Base value what I have given 80, I will change that to 200. Can you notice here? This drawing has already got updated. Or I can change it to 20. The shape remains same, it won't change. Only the overall dimension. Once if I change this base, all the remaining dimensions are already we have related to this base dimension. So everything will automatically update. I'm changing it to 100. Okay, this is the basics of sketching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share all this document, this particular exercise, or you can also have a look at this video. So try to complete this exercise. So both the exercise, one with the dimension, and make sure you are going to constrain the sketch. Okay, the entire sketch, all the lines should turn to black. So but you have to use geometrical constraint and also the dimensional constraint. And the next part, try to complete with the formula, that is using parameter, using modify, sorry, um, modify, inside you have change parameter. So you can create your own user parameter. And even for the sketching also, you can see everything will be there. So create user parameter and try to input the same and try to execute changing the dimension. So hope this video will help you to understand the basics of sketching, and try to complete this exercise before you go to the next exercise, where you are going to learn converting an isometric drawing into 3D. So thank you very much.